Hi, and welcome to a very special edition of the Property Particulars podcast. And this time we are doing something we've not done before, where I have a fantastic panel here with me today, all of the partners from the residential property team. So let me introduce you all. Tarron, John, Shelley, Andrew, welcome. Now you're all pros at it as well, because you've all done an individual podcast with me. Yes, do you remember? Tarron, you did the very first one, which might be like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And a lot in your life has changed since.
Yes.
But one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast with all of us together is, of course, to say congratulations to Tarron and Shelley, because you are now partners in our team. We are a team of 5 partners. So many congratulations. Yes, indeed. So it's not been very long. How does it feel?
Still a bit surreal, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, like when you see the partner at the bottom of your email signature.
Yes.
It's quite exciting, but still surprises me some days.
Yeah. What about you, Shelley?
Yeah, I agree. It's getting some used to now with the email sign-off, and we've seen as well that we're now recorded as members on Company's House, which is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes.
I think it must be different as well. Oh, sorry, on you go.
You're the partner now on the Resi team in Bournemouth, so...
Yes, so very much looking forward to that. Going to help with smooth over some transaction speed in terms of approvals for money outs, and
For us, that's a
Yes.
great thing. That
That's a
there's
big
2
thing.
extra doing the money outs. I mean, that's not the only reason, obviously.
yes.
less admin for us.
Yeah, less admin for us.
Yeah.
But actually, just when you said that about your email signature changing, so when I became a partner, I did it as I moved firm. But did either of you do it within the same firm?
Yeah, I did it with Lester Aldridge.
Oh,
yeah.
you did?
Yeah.
But so I think that's more exciting than when you just switch jobs and become a partner like I did. Because everybody has been coming up to you and congratulating you and talking to you. Must be getting used to it now, hopefully.
Yeah, and lots of people in the family have been really kind. We've had lots of people congratulate us, and internal announcements and celebrations. So yeah, we're very lucky and very fortunate.
Good stuff, good stuff. Let's talk a bit about the 5 of us and our history together. And at the time of recording, it's actually John and mine's 10-year anniversary of leaving the big city firm and starting our own law firm. 10 years this week. Can you cast your mind back to how exciting that felt?
Well, it was really exciting, and it's exciting, but it still feels a continuation of the journey, right?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
It feels like some of the reasons why we wanted to do that, we've been able to sort of preserve those back into Lester Aldridge and keep some of the objectives that we had in mind to do it. They're still as relevant today as they were 10 years ago, if not more so, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And even our recent partners conference, some of those same themes were coming up in the discussions around the room of 50, 60 people in that room.
Yeah, we sort of started off, didn't we, with trying to focus back on the client and understand what our role was in people buying and selling houses, essentially, and being that client focus, which I think we all still really have, and you can easily forget that, and especially as when you become more senior and you have more sort of management and leadership responsibilities, which both of you will now find that your inboxes will get full with more and more things that you need to do, is just keep going back to that mindset of client first,
Of course.
client first.
Yeah. And if we go from that point in our journey, so then the next person would, Tarron, you joined us as a paralegal in our previous firm.
Yeah.
Now, how long ago was that now?
That was July 2017,
Wow.
so almost 9 years.
Yeah, and so
Almost.
you've come on pretty much that journey with us from a fresh paralegal that just worked in a small firm with me, John and Katie. Would that be right? I can't remember. Was it? And Aileen was there as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I was fresh out of law school. I think I joined you like 2 weeks after finishing my last exam. So
You've got nothing
now
to compare
here.
us to, which is good in a way. That's good in a way.
Yeah, it's great. It doesn't feel like 9 years, I don't think.
It doesn't feel at all. But this is what I think is really exciting about our team and lovely, because we've got all these different connections over a time period. So then if I go forward, then we pinched Andrew from the big city firm where obviously you, John and I all worked together for many years. You had been there much longer, but then we nabbed you to come and join our little startup.
That's right. Yeah,
And that would have been 2018 or
beginning of 18. I
right,
came
yeah.
across to you with you guys, and it was an exciting time. I remember thinking, all of a sudden we've got 3 of us at the time with great client bases between us, loads of expertise, all the expertise you ever wanted between us, all the contacts, and there's just the 3 of us, and that sense of sort of freedom to do with all of that what we wanted was amazing. And also from my perspective on doing the lease extension work in the bigger firm, as with all bigger firms, they act for much bigger clients, therefore bigger landlords, and I was being conflicted so much acting for sort of individual lessees and flat owners, people wanting to do their lease extensions, which I couldn't do because big firm also acted for the landlord. So coming out of that, all of a sudden I was free to act basically for whoever I wanted. There was never a conflict because we did not act for any big landlords, and we still don't. So it was just that sense of sort of freedom to just market and work for whoever we wanted to. It was exciting stuff.
It was exciting, especially when we think back, John, and on that day one when we had no clients, no work, and we sat there trying to work out how to do that. But that was it. That was the most exciting bit.
It didn't last long though.
No, I was going to say, it was like
a month in, and we were
Yeah.
like, oh, we need Katie to join us immediately.
Yeah.
And we nabbed Katie from
Yeah.
the other firm as well.
But we've kept that mindset, right, which I think is really, really healthy, which is that sort of the empty shelf mindset of we need to go and win clients, but also really look after them. And I don't think we've ever lost that.
It's key.
It's absolutely fundamental, right?
In my view, it just begins and ends with looking after clients.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, you might as well do nothing else.
Yeah.
It just begins and ends with that because it brings work in, it keeps work in, and looking after contacts as well. All our sort of intermediaries, just looking after them, having some fun with them here and there.
It's part of the fun of the job, isn't it? Like that's the bit that I like the most because it's like you're at work all the time. We've got to enjoy it. So we enjoy each other's company, but if you can enjoy the company of the referrers and clients and stuff, it just makes the day nicer, doesn't it?
It does, and just when you talk about that, Andrew, there's a lot of cliches that are knock around in legal worlds, right? And one of them is partner-led transactions. And what that actually means when you break it down is that you've got a really experienced, really talented lawyer looking after one of the most expensive and important things you'll ever do in your life, which is why the promotion of Tarron and Shelley is really important to our team, but really important to their clients as well, because the role of a partner, yes, it means that they're part of our business and they're part of the ownership structure of the firm, and that's really important to recognise what they've done. But also, if you take it back to that client focus element, the clients are getting now a partner, and the reason they're getting a partner isn't because we want them to, because it's expensive or whatever that is. It's to make sure that they're getting the absolute best advice that they can get. And the promotion of Tarron and Shelley, whilst a recognition of their work, is actually all about the client. Is that they have the ability. They're both amazing lawyers. They're both super intelligent. I'm going to embarrass you both now.
Both better lawyers than us.
That's not difficult though, Doug. Is it? But the truth of it is that they're both incredibly hardworking, which means the clients get great service.
Yeah.
They're both very, very intelligent. They're both very competent. They're both transactionally quick. Would you say? Compared to some of the competition out there, I think you are. But also that you create relationships with both the clients and the referrers of those clients on some occasions, to actually really focus in on the deal and get the deal done. And we've always done that, right? Deal doers. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that I take from being at the smaller firm before, is that obviously it was all about getting the work in, keeping the work, and there was like a sense of achievement when we ring the bell when you got a job in.
The bell. We used to ring the bell. I used to love that.
And everyone was very invested in it doing well, and I feel like that has stayed with me and
we'd like write the fees up on the wall, like bit jobs when they finish month by month, which actually we've started. You do that a lot in the Bournemouth office, have your targets and your completions all written up on the board, which actually is quite a good focus point for some of the younger ones in the team.
Absolutely, we much prefer to look at something on the board and see what we've got coming up, and we can plan for it. And I think as well, where we all establish such good relationship with clients, as residential property, we bring so many new clients to the firm, and that's such a great opportunity to allow us to make referrals across all departments for what they might need. So it's a great door to the firm for the clients we bring in.
What would we say is where do we refer to the most? For me, I'd probably say TTW, tax, trusts and wills. But we probably refer.
Yeah, and commercial property as well. So a lot of our clients might have, you know. But there's a real variety, which is kind of what it's all about. So the residential property team obviously sits within private wealth. So there's that obvious synergy with the individual needing individual advice outside of property, but also a lot of our clients own businesses, so they'll need some commercial advice. They own commercial properties, so they need some commercial property advice. They might own boats or be involved in that sort of world. So that also is going on. But just going back to that thing about the board, Shelley, so if you think about the other professionals involved in our industry, so the estate agents and the valuers and the lenders, particularly the estate agents, you can see the mirror of what's happening in their offices, which is what's happening in ours, which is why I think we've got so many good relationships with estate agents. So you wouldn't necessarily know you're walking into the law firm. You might be walking into the estate agent when you see the deals that need to be done on the board, on us working towards that. There's probably quite a lot of crossover between those two professions, if you like, which is why I think that a lot of estate agents really respect and like us, is because we've got the same goal. Yes, we've got to look after the client, but also we've got to look after the deal and get those deals across the line, because they're one and the same thing.
Yeah. Let me just jump back to the history. So whilst this bit of the history was going on, when Tarron joined us and Andrew joined us, and we were leading up to coming to LA, but at that time you would have been joining LA because you were there before we came back. Is that right, from memory?
Yes, so similarly, I just had my 10 years at Lester Aldridge, so I started there in 2015, and so I trained there and now have progressed on to obviously partner now. So the 10-year point is important, I think, for all of us, reaching that 10-year milestone for a lot of things. Yeah,
and then the exciting bit came when we brought our team of, I think, 7 or 8 back to LA in 2019. So we're coming up for the 7-year anniversary of that. But John, when I say bringing back, that's because I'm meaning you, really. So tell me the bit about, well, you were there before, of course. This is why I refer to it like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was a bit of a homecoming. I mean, it's great to be back at LA. It was great to come back. I think the experience that we all gathered, both at sort of the city firm, but also in our firm, hopefully we've brought that back into Lester Aldridge and made the firm better for it. So Lester Aldridge is very lucky because we've got a lot of lifers, we've got a lot of people who've been here a long time, but also we've got some people who've been away and then come back, and hopefully, like going on a bit of a sort of an expedition, you sort of bring back new methods and new thinking, and then you bring that back and hopefully make the firm a better place because of it.
And Shelley, what did you think when suddenly there was like 8 new
residential
people?
She was delighted.
Well, it wasn't new people really, because prior to that, we used to work with Lewis Townsend and John and Tarron, and I were working on transactions on the other side of each other. So for me, it was great.
We had a couple of good lunches, didn't we, Shelley? Do you remember?
Yeah, we had some lovely lunches. Had some interesting transactions. How they were set up, it was quite new at the time, and it was great. We had this great working relationship already before you kind of all came back and joined us again, and brought a great opportunity for us to have a much more expanded London office.
Exactly. Yeah, because we kind of bolted on to, I mean, the London office was much smaller then than it is now. And look at the journey we've just come on in the London office. We're currently recording this in our lovely offices at Savoy Hill House, where we've been 1.5 years, and that is very different to the communal workspace we were in. Even if you go back to the 10 years when you and I were in a room, a 2-person room, And then when
How,
Andrew joined,
how
Andrew
you
was
and
in a
I managed to
one-person
cope with
room.
each other in a 2-person room.
And with Katie as well.
Dear, oh dear. Well, Katie was the mediator most days, wasn't she?
I was in a cupboard.
You were in a cupboard down the corridor.
That's what you deserved.
We couldn't get a room all together at that point.
You were lucky to have the cupboard.
But then look at us now. Like,
Still in the cupboard.
You didn't have an outdoor window, did you?
No. He was in a cupboard.
But yeah, what do we like our new office space. So you went on maternity and I've come back and we're in a new office.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's very different to where we were before, but I think the London office itself has obviously grown a lot and changed a lot while I was off, which is great. And it's nice for us to have all the meeting rooms up here.
Yeah.
Places to
it's
hold
a really
events.
special office. And today's a great example because, Shelley, you're obviously up from Bournemouth for the day, but actually downstairs in all our offices, there's about 10 people from Bournemouth and Southampton offices today, which is so lovely. Like we don't always know what they've got on and why they're here, but it's just so lovely that it now becomes a much busier office on lots of days with lots of other staff in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a grown-up office, isn't it? I mean, like the firm, or this part of the firm, has really grown up from where we were at the serviced office to our own office, which we've kitted out as we want. And it's, as you say, it's really useful to have the capacity here for people from Bournemouth and Southampton to come up and use the London footing to do whatever they want to do in London as well as where they've come from.
Good. And John, how have you found, because you out of the 5 of us here travel between the 2 offices the most, so we all help, of course, but how have you
What have you done there?
how have you found 2 different teams in separate locations? I think we're doing pretty well at it.
There's always challenges between if you've got a team split across offices. I think we do incredibly well. Shelley will tell me otherwise, maybe, but I think we do incredibly well. But I think some of the sort of the culture is slightly different because you're in a slightly different environment, and you therefore you kind of want that as well, and that's okay. But the principles and the actual fundamentals of what we're trying to achieve and the way that we're trying to achieve it is exactly the same. Client focus, delivery of service, quality of advice, all those key principles are exactly the same. And again, it's all about the people, right? So we can sort of sit in a meeting room as partners now and say, this is we want what the team to be. But actually, it's slightly more complicated than that. Is that whilst the team's a reflection of what we want them to be, we're also a reflection of what the team is. And so everybody in our team, and I can say this, are amazing individuals. You can swap a paralegal from one office to the other office and they will deliver exactly the same quality of service.
Yes.
They'll work incredibly hard. They're all incredibly talented. We're here to support their journey as well.
I think so. Good stuff. Another thing that pops into my mind when we're talking about kind of 10-year anniversaries and journeys. So for the 3 of you in the middle, like 10 years ago, no children, and now you're all working mums and dads. You were a working mum and dad.
I was never a working mum.
Sorry, you were a working dad. But how has that changed for you guys, and how's it felt being out, having to combine both of those? It's a question we get asked all the time, isn't it? For how does your firm deal with working mums and dads?
I think similar for me and Tarron as well. So Tarron went on maternity leave and came back to a brand new office and new location. When I went on maternity leave, it was quite soon after you guys had all joined. So there was a return where the department looked a bit more different to kind of how I left it. And I remember catching up with John during my maternity leave to make sure I was being kept up to date with all the changes. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it also I think only supports in terms of what we're doing, because you can sympathise with people who are moving, who have families, and understand the pressures around that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how many times do we have clients that are having families and moving a house at the same time? I mean, it does come together, doesn't it?
School
Because you want a
catchment,
bigger space, school catchment,
Yeah.
and so we can sympathise a bit.
I always thought clients were crazy doing that, and then I ended up doing it myself.
So did I. And so did you, I think. You just recently moved on.
But
so
yeah,
you panic and think you need more space.
Yeah. And you don't, but everyone does it. I don't
you
blame
just fill the space if you have it with more stuff.
More stuff.
But yeah, no, I think it's hard. It's definitely a juggle coming back and having a child. But I think we're very lucky in the sort of flexibility and the support that LA offers. So that definitely makes it sort of more achievable from a perspective of not panicking if you're, like this morning I was running a bit late, but I wasn't super stressed about it.
Yeah,
so
flexibility is the key,
helps. Yeah.
Absolutely. And sort of the way that you work and the times that you're there to speak to clients change, right? So if you've got a youngster, or there's a pickup time for school, and you're ringing the client saying we're about to exchange contracts, it's the methods that you communicate with them via WhatsApp or whatever it might well be. Is that if you're trying to get instructions from somebody and they themselves are late to try and pick up their kid from school, and they're running and they're trying to exchange contracts, and it's just they're having a juggle. And so we really get that juggle, and trying to explain to maybe other parties in the chain, if there's a chain, about why it's difficult to get hold of that client at that moment, whilst we need to get the job done properly. There's other stuff going on sometimes with property transactions, right? And if there are 3 or 4 links in the chain, that's potentially 3 or 4 parents all trying to go to different schools to pick up their kids or whatever it might well be. So there's the practicalities, and I think you don't always have to live something to understand it, but I think with being a working parent, I think it really, really helps to have gone through that journey yourself to really understand how difficult it is.
Definitely. Well, I'm saying definitely, I don't know.
Well, you pick me up sometimes from school, maybe,
exactly,
so you're vicariously
part of the
living.
family.
Part of the family, exactly.
All part of the family.
Exactly right.
Okay, let's look to 2026. We're at the start of the year. We have 2 fresh new partners in our team. We're a 5-partner-led team now. What do we have in store for us? We've gone through some discussions recently, strategy, budgets, etc. What do we think for the year ahead? Do we think it's going to be good?
I think we started off really strongly. This start of the year, we've got lots of inquiries, lots of instructions coming in, some quite large ones as well. And so certainly more of the same for us and being kept very busy, but how we all enjoy it.
Yeah, the intake because we're recording this at the start of Feb, and the intake in January was crazy. Has anybody been talking to agents, and how do we feel that they feel is out there? Do we think it's a good year ahead of us?
Well, I think the metrics are looking good, right? So a little bit of stability in the financial markets helps us, and it helps clients, and it helps the other professions in the chain to actually plan what they want to do and feel that you get a bit of stability with interest rates, and it's still relatively cheap to borrow money, which is important. Stock is always a pressure, and the amount of stuff coming on the market, there's still probably a bit of an undersupply of that. That might change throughout the year potentially, but we've just got to be flexible to what our clients are doing, and what they're doing. But like everything, the fundamentals of the deal and the service that we offer, regardless of the market, has to be absolutely spot on. The deals that are happening still want speed, efficiency, communication, and so if we get all those things right, we're still offering something, I think, to our clients that
and you do get these sort of bubbles or bulges in the market where, at the end of last year, obviously the market was difficult because of the uncertainty around the budget and stamp duty and all the things that people get frightened about was a drag on the market, and plus Christmas coming up, people thinking, let's do it next year. And so you get that sort of heightened flow of work when those uncertainties disappear. But it's not just those uncertainties. The fact of the matter is that even if you've got a long period of uncertainty, the fact is people's lives change, and eventually they have to move because of family circumstances or whatever. People have to move eventually, and they do. They find a way to. So sometimes I just think the market sort of outstrips and just pushes ahead, surges ahead of whatever is going on, in terms of the factors that would otherwise be driving it. Stuff just has to happen eventually. And then, of course, when things do start happening, even on a sort of a smaller level, everyone's thinking, crikey, it's here we go.
We've got to move.
And it sort of self-propels itself.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I think it's, you know, particularly with interest rates stable and on their way down, and the banks thinking, you know, actually, what, you know, this is what banks do for a living. They lend money for a living, and if they're not doing that, it all goes wrong quite quickly. The banks are anxious to lend money, and they will find a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them are sort of reducing their rates now, which is good.
So I looked on some articles from some of the agents and their predictions for the forthcoming year, and I picked a couple of titles, and let's see what we think about them and whether we see that happening already. So super prime areas to expand, so i.e. super prime to be going into Fulham and St John's Wood, whereas before super prime has been much more central London than that. Do we think that's happening? Have we seen it? I have definitely done more transactions in St John's Wood recently than I have done before.
St John's was beautiful, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think sort of the labelling of stuff is sometimes helpful and maybe sometimes unhelpful.
Yeah.
Like, Fulham's a really nice place to live. St John's Wood is a really nice place to live, whether it's prime or super prime. I don't necessarily think that necessarily matters. It's sometimes like a matrix that maybe is useful just to differentiate between areas. But the truth is that there will always be very nice parts of London, which are still very nice places to live, and the prices will perhaps be reflective of what else is going on in the neighbourhood. But sort of down on the coast, Shelley, there's some super prime areas of that, which are sort of spreading as well. But again, it's just a nice place to live, and I think that sometimes is more important than maybe the neighbour you stick on.
That leads into the second one.
Okay.
Neighbourhoods.
It's almost like we planned it. Go on.
It's almost like we've planned it, yeah. Or it's almost like the agents have planned it in their articles. Neighbourhoods with a village lifestyle. I stumped you all. I think I definitely see that with clients wanting to have that high street. So whether you are in a busy borough in London, there is more in some of the areas that we do a lot in, like Islington, like Queen's Park, like Hampstead, where people want that. Even at the new first-time buyers, I've heard that from agents that they still want that kind of little town, little village feel to the area that they buy in.
Yeah, I think similarly on the coast we've got Camford Cliffs, and it's quite often called Camford Cliffs Village because there is a small high street with various shops and places to go and eat and things like that, and yeah, it's quite commonly known as the Camford Cliffs Village. So I think that there is definitely
I don't know whether it's I wouldn't say whether it's necessarily a new trend though, but I think we have the same. I obviously did a lot in Clapham, and you have that there with Abbeville Village, that they call it. So I definitely think people then get the best of both worlds. I know they're still sort of in and around London, but get that sort of little village feel with coffee shops.
There's a lot, isn't it? It's the human side of property. It's always going to be there, however shiny the buildings are and however modern they are. People sort of tend towards something that they want to feel a part of.
Of course.
Well, like Battersea, right? The stuff that you've done down in Battersea, part of their development was about...
It's like we have written it. The next one is new developments.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Should I stop talking?
You're way ahead of it.
But you know, it's true, right? It is true, though, right? It's as though what they've tried to do now is create that village. It's create that community, which everybody wants. But that's just something that like human beings have wanted for thousands and thousands of years. That's not a new phenomenon,
But I think there is talk of lots of developments or next phases in developments launching this year, whereas I don't think we've had that the last couple of years. Developers have maybe paused or found it difficult, maybe with the overseas market, but fingers crossed that's on the cards for this year with different phases and new developments coming up, which we want to be a part of.
Well, the government's also started talking about that, haven't they? And talk about sort of reinvigorating the high street and how important that is, and absolutely. So I've lived in Bournemouth and I've lived in London, and one of the things that that Bournemouth is desperately needing is their high street to be energised and for that to be filled with more local, more individual shops, and I think will draw people back to the centre of Bournemouth, because Bournemouth itself is a beautiful town which is struggling because of the high street. It's really important, I think, that the Bournemouth high street comes back in a big way. There's talk about some mixed use developments going back into the centre of Bournemouth, which I think will be great. People actually living there and using it as their shopping centre rather than sort of the out of town mall experience, which I think was very fashionable, but I think has done quite a lot of damage to that high street. And I think some of the big retailers, once they see the footfall go back from some of the independents, will go back into the town centre. And I think that's a really encouraging trend, I think.
Exciting ahead.
Yeah.
Now, dare we talk for 2026 about ground rents, leaseholds, and what about the word common hold? Shall we talk about it? I mean, common hold has been talked about so many times over the time of my career. But yeah, we've got potential change coming, Andrew. We're all looking at you for instruction on it.
How long have you got, really?
Yeah, about 2 minutes. What about ground rents first of all? The change is happening already, yeah?
The government are on a mission to extinguish the whole ground rent, the whole concept of ground rents. Fine. I mean, we all know that often ground rents is, a nominal amount per year, which doesn't actually cause anyone a problem. But then in the centre of London, where you've got sort of short leases that were granted, back in the short leases now that were granted back in the 60s or 70s, that actually reserve quite punitive ground rents, sometimes running into sort of now thousands of pounds. So it's a difficult thing to deal with, because you're dealing with very different types of leases, types of properties, and amounts of ground rent. But the move is towards extinguishing ground rents. But the really valuable ground rents, the high ground rents, have a sort of capital thing going on as well. So, anyway, enough about that. That ground
in principle, it's a good thing, though, right? Ground rents itself are on a new lease. They don't add anything of any value, right?
Yeah. It's an ancient arrangement which has been not abused, because whenever a lease is granted, there's a willing landlord and a willing tenant, and everyone agrees the deal. Yeah. And then 50 years later, the government jumps in and changes the deal unilaterally, and that's what's causing the trouble. So that's ground rents. On the common hold thing, you're right, Doug. Common hold, the concept of common hold, which is more akin to the sort of continental or American system of multiple or flat ownership, common ownership. It's been available. It's there for anyone to use it now. It's been available since 2002, but no one's taken it up because it's just expensive administratively to change over to that system. Yeah. And ultimately, common hold offers the same thing as the current system, which is a framework within which to own and manage multiple dwellings within a single building. So that's why it hasn't been taken up so far, and it's quite sort of well known that there have been more books written on common hold than there are common holds in this country. But the difference here is that the government are now getting serious about this, and the new bill that was just sort of put on the table a week or so ago looks towards making common hold compulsory for new developments. Yeah. So each time we act for someone buying a new flat in a new development, it's going to be common hold. So that's going to be a lot for us to get our heads around, a lot for lenders to get their heads around, and they're also going. The bill is also aiming to make it easier for existing freehold, leasehold type arrangements to convert to common.
The principle, again, though, is right. The people who live in a block get to manage the bricks in which they live. The mechanism, for me, is there'll be pros and cons of whichever sort of system you set up. But the principle is right, is that the owners of a building should be responsible for looking after the building. What I would say, though, is that, and like anybody in any profession, there's good managing agents and there's bad managing agents. But actually running a block well is not easy. No. There's a huge amount of regulation that people have got to follow, rightly so. There's a lot of management of accounts, of insurance policies, of the day-to-day, making sure that the repairs are done. It's not an easy thing to do.
It isn't, which is why a group of 50 or 70 or 80 leaseholders in a block of flats who all of a sudden have their common hold or even their freehold now, they're going to need professional advice to manage the building. But the difference is that they will choose that professional, they will choose that manager, rather than that manager being chosen by a sort of a distant freeholder who imposes the manager on them. So that will be a good thing.
And whether you like it or not, there's still likely to be an element of profit. So one of the things that people don't like is the fact is he's saying, I'm paying sort of a management fee for people to do it. Well, unless you're in a very small building and someone's prepared to put in the time and effort to do it, the bigger the building, the more responsibility you're going to need to probably outsource, and they're going to want to charge you for it. But you say it's the ability to choose who you're getting to do that. There's some, as I say, there's good and bad in all of that. But actually, the principle of it, which I think is right, is going to be actually a good change where the ground rents aren't going to be a way of sort of skimming some profit from the top. I think that's a good idea. It's a good idea.
And then the third strand is lease extensions.
Yes.
Which
you know a lot about.
Which was the subject. Which was the subject of actual legislation, which is now on the statute book in 2004, the new Leasehold Reform Act, 2024. That came on, but that is only activated by secondary legislation, which hasn't been sort of triggered yet. And it hasn't been triggered because part of the original legislation is being litigated by large central London wealthy landlords who stand to lose a lot from the abolition of marriage value, which is the additional amount that they receive when leases are extended, which are below 80 years. So that's what's going on there. Round one was won by the government. The government won the first round in the courts. The landlords have now appealed that, and I'm not sure exactly how long that is going to take to run through, but it could be, another six months to a year, and we will then see whether or not the government is going to be successful in stopping landlords from charging marriage value when leases are extended under 80 years. Just a word of warning, even if the government win and make it easier and cheaper, as they say, for leaseholders under 80 years, there's still the question of there are two other heads of valuation that come into the mix, and the government has said that they're going to prescribe the rates for those valuation principles, getting a bit technical, but the gist of it is that what might be given to leaseholders on the one hand could yet be taken away on the other two. So the whole thing turns into something of a sort of a waste of time, which would not be unusual.
but the sales pitch bit at the end is if you've got a short lease, we're here to help.
We're here to help with short, anything, under around 100 years now needs to be sort of looked at, because however short your lease is, the fact is a shortening lease, there's a depreciating effect from that shortening, which needs to be addressed at some point. Quite regardless of what's going on with the.
And you're so busy just now that we're getting like Tarron is now stepping up and stepping in to help with this area as well, which you did a lot of that before in your training and all throughout, but now you're going to help Andrew and focus on it a bit more.
Yeah, it's exciting to have the opportunity to learn from Andrew.
Be careful.
The Oracle. No, it's exciting. I've always quite enjoyed it, to be fair, but I haven't done loads of it.
It's a great thing to be involved in, because the valuers involved, they're specialists and they're great people to deal with. The clients are always very grateful to be dug out of the hole of a short lease. And just in terms of workflow, it's good, because when you extend someone's lease and there's a sort of a natural ending to that transaction, they're happy to have extended their lease. When they come to sell that flat, they come back to guess who, and they've probably got a related purchase at that stage. So it's a good way of keeping the workflow with clients and then introducing new clients.
That's it, right? So the client is not a client for the transaction. The client is always a client, right? So
Yes,
the
Yeah.
good thing about
course.
us is that just pick up the phone and have a telephone conversation with us. The clock doesn't start running. We're interested in that relationship for the long term, not for that particular job. So we are always giving advice and always giving pointers without ever providing a bill to the client, which our FD will probably have a heart attack when he hears it, but it's the truth. It's that they're a client of the firm, and it's not about that individual transaction that we're trying to help them with.
Definitely.
It's just helping them navigate the whole.
We love getting a call or a text from an old client saying, "Can I pick your brain on something for 2 minutes?" And it quite often isn't for a property thing.
The same with estate agents.
A new client is nearly always worth more than a new transaction.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So all in all, 2026 we think is looking good with our 5-person led.
You're really banging this drum, aren't you?
Of course. Right, to end up, what you don't know is I have asked our team to submit questions to me to ask you. We had a lot. So you ready for some of these? Okay. What originally drew you to LA and what has kept you here? Come on, John, you need to jump in with that. You've done the most years at LA.
So I went to law school down in Bournemouth, and then was working for a big insurance company in Bournemouth, and then really decided that I need to get on with my legal career. So when I was looking to join a firm in Bournemouth, LA was obviously the marquee firm, and they had a vacancy in residential property, and I went to interview with a partner called Tony Roberts and then a partner called Rachel Lapworth, and I think I got the job because I could play cricket. Basically.
Good enough reason.
Basically. And I was
still play cricket?
No.
No,
I couldn't. I just made it up to get the job. But no, I could play cricket. But
Apparently you can play golf as well.
Apparently I could play golf. Apparently. But yeah, so, and then what kept me there is quality of people, quality of work. Just a really good place to be.
Good.
Yeah. Until it wasn't, and I left.
But you came back.
I came back.
Which is actually talked about in LA a lot. Yeah. So there's the LA lifers and the LA boomerangers. Is that all right word?
Maybe.
Fair enough. We'll edit that.
And LA, I mean, when we all joined LA, LA was clearly keen to put some rocket fuel underneath a London office and commit to it. And here we are with a wonderful office, wonderful people doing great work in central London, but with the clout, if you like, of a large firm behind us based in Bournemouth with the HR facility and the IT facility and all the rest of it.
Everything we need.
What's not to like really about that situation?
Yeah, even when I was up north, in a firm up north, like I knew Lester Aldridge back then when I was a trainee 20 years ago. We had Lester Aldridge on the other side to us of housing transactions that I used to do. So for me, it was like I knew the name already before we started thinking to come back. I say come back, which is actually quite a nice way that I put it as well, because I feel that it's part of our journey, John. Okay, this is a good one that maybe everybody could do. What is most memorable transaction, good or bad?
We've got
Maybe like value, or like, come on, Shelley, one on the water or something like that. You've done a few amazing value ones on the South Coast, haven't you?
Yeah, there's been some really amazing waterfront properties that I've dealt with, and I think that for me it's been doing something a bit different in that I've had to get to grips with understanding kind of licenses with either the Crown Estate, who own the waters, or Poole Harbour Commissioners, who also you need a licence for when you have structures in the water such as private jetties and piers and things like that. So I think for me, that's kind of been the most kind of interesting kind of transactions for me, as well as the fact they come with some serious price tags.
Yeah, a price tag is always exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a 60 million one in Palace Green next to Kensington Palace. That was, like, for me, coming from a little town up north, that was like unbelievable.
I acted for my memorable transaction, I would say, was acting on the sale or exchange contracts on the sale of a large building in Knightsbridge, which was ready for redevelopment. And the buyers thought they would have the funding ready to complete. but this was in the summer of the crash, the financial crash, and between exchanging before the summer and completing later that year, they couldn't find the funding, and we ended up forfeiting the deposit for our client, which after it had been renegotiated and re-exchanged and turned out to be about 12 million.
Wow. My question I want to ask you, Andrew, is which crash? The one in the 80s or the 2000s?
Early 70s, maybe.
Any other ones? What about
I got two.
You got two? Go for it.
I got two. So
probably involving Tarron too.
The second one is the first one. The first one was a flat I bought in Notting Hill for a client. We used to get quite a lot of work out of various barristers' chambers, and this was for the marketing head at the barristers' chambers, and she ultimately became my wife many years later. So that I have to mention that, otherwise she would be upset that I didn't.
Be in trouble.
So that was an important one, and. The second one was probably when this is going to bring back
I think it's going to be what I was going to say.
was the one where we had an exclusivity period to try and get a deal exchanged, and it was a really, really tight period of time to do it, and it was a big transaction, and the exclusivity fee was a large chunk of money, and we had to send a fax by 5 o'clock one day, and the fax machine started giving up at about 2 minutes to 5, and it was quite a stressful day. I ended up sort of having to have a lie down in the office with Tarron trying to sort of calm me down. That was a particularly difficult day, was it not?
Yes, I'd say it's probably, I think it's the highest value I've done, and I was only a paralegal at the time.
Oh,
so.
Right. And you had to manage John.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it was memorable. It was the St George's Hill estate. Again, lots of different deed of covenants and licenses that you need.
Oh, yeah, you were driving around.
I had to drive to the offices.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
On the day of completion. So, yes.
Yeah, a memorable transaction or a deadline when you have to send the paralegal or the trainee to the offices or to collect a document. Always adds an air of excitement anyway, doesn't it?
Excitement is one word for it, wasn't it? But you know what? Again, the client got what they wanted. The deal was done. It was a good experience for you and a medium one for me.
I suppose it was quite memorable as well on my own transaction, which actually failed to complete and actually involved John having to get in a car and drive to the house I was purchasing to check that I was going to get vacant possession. So,
goodness,
definitely
you're involved
memorable.
in a lot of these memorable transactions, John.
Yeah, maybe
common
should
theme.
take a step
Think
back.
about it.
It's a common theme.
It's a common theme.
Cut that bit out.
Did you always want to go into property?
No,
Quick
it's
fire
my
answers.
answer.
I
No,
did.
No, but I
did.
just ended up in it.
Yeah, same ditto. I ended up in it. I was offered a job but after my training contract in that team, I was like, I'll go for that one.
I did. I really enjoyed land law when I did my conversion, which everyone thought I was weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I did. I mean, I always wanted to go into law, and then it was just a question of which kind, and I spent a summer working with a property developer when I was very young.
Okay. Shelley? Oh, sorry. No,
Yeah, and I just put the law and the property together. Yeah.
What about you, Shelley?
I think I always knew I wanted to act for people. So we've got quite a big part of our firm that acts for corporate and commercial clients, which is amazing and brings with its own challenges. But I think for me, I always knew I wanted to act for lay individuals in their kind of legal work.
Cool.
You started off as a tax lawyer, trust
Private
lawyer?
client lawyer for initially, yes,
Yeah.
which has certainly helped me in terms of
Yeah.
people skills and being involved in that type of thing. But yeah, always knowing that I'd end up in a private wealth capacity.
This is a good question, current question for some people in our team. And I wonder who, you'll be able to work out maybe who's asked this. What do you expect in a trainee solicitor?
Oh, that's a good question.
The trainee solicitor application window is open, so I think this is maybe why the question has come. It's very topical just now. What do we expect?
Blood, sweat and tears, maybe, I don't know.
Say hard work.
Dedication.
Use your initiative, I think, as
Yeah.
well, sort of not sitting and waiting to be told what to do.
Start thinking like a lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Start
that's what
good
you want to
one.
be.
That's it.
It's better than
That's
mine.
it.
Scrap mine, cut that out.
Start thinking like a lawyer.
You Shelley.
And be interested.
Yeah, keen.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
interested in it. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's do the last question. What other achievements in your career are you most proud of outside of the law? Do we have any?
career.
And your
Yeah.
career outside of the law. But our careers are law.
I've got one. So,
I have one as well.
okay, do you want to go first?
You're going to laugh at mine.
Yeah, go on.
Mine will be, Safeway supermarket. I got like employee of the year.
Oh, yeah, you never mentioned that.
Yeah, and then I got it again at Ward Hadaway.
Yeah, you've not got it here. So for mine, I suppose, is that part of the job of a partner is managing people and teams. And so actually having these guys here.
Yeah, well, what a good point to end on, John.
Oh, you're welcome, Doug.
No problem at all. And thank you all for joining me on this very special edition of the Property Particulars podcast with a panel for the first time. And join us again very soon for more episodes of Property Particulars podcast.